What's up, everybody? I'm Mr. Gaffin. Here are some fast facts about ecosystems and food webs. An ecosystem is a collection of living and non-living things in a given area. When I say living things, I mean the plants, animals, and other smaller organisms that inhabit that space. When I say non-living things, I mean, of course, the dead stuff. Rest in peace. So sorry, RIP. But I'm also talking about other things, such as terrain and climate. These non-living factors influence what types of organisms can survive and thrive in that ecosystem. Animals are perfectly adapted for their ecosystem. You don't just see a chameleon chilling out in the Arctic, all right? I guess they would be chilling. Sorry, had to do it. Let's move on. Now, ecosystems come in all different sizes. They can be huge forests or even a small little jar you have in your room. No matter what size the ecosystem, though, they all depend on one thing: stability. Ecosystems are pretty fragile, and they can collapse if there is interference from, let's say, an invasive species, humans, or maybe even some crazy weather. What a food web does is it shows us how energy moves through an ecosystem, from the bottom of the food chain all the way to the top. It reinforces the idea that all organisms in an ecosystem are connected, even if there is not a direct connection between them. Just because the hawk doesn't eat the plant doesn't mean it doesn't get energy from the plant, because it gets energy from the mouse, which ate the plant, and so on and so forth. All organisms in an ecosystem have a role. You can either be a producer, a consumer, or a decomposer. The sun is the source of energy for almost all ecosystems on this planet. It starts with the sun and goes to our first group of organisms, producers. Producers make their own food. They take the energy from the sun and use photosynthesis to create their own food. They're mostly plants. Producers are extremely important for our next group, consumers. Consumers consume. They eat stuff. It's not very scientific, but that's what they do. Consumers come in three types. You could be a herbivore, which eats only plants. You could be a carnivore, which eats only meat. Or you could be an omnivore, which does both. Let's move on to the last group, decomposers. Decomposers are like the custodians of the animal kingdom. They clean up the dead and decaying matter, recycling it back into the ecosystem. Worms, dung beetles, great examples of decomposers. They make sure that the dead and decaying matter gets cleaned up and recycled back into the ecosystem. Alright, hopefully you got all of that, because this is something that everybody should know. Ecosystems are a collection of living and non-living things. There are different roles in an ecosystem, and they're very, very fragile. So we have to make sure that we do our best to keep them going as nature intended.